Good morning. Welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space out in my backyard. So this morning we're going on a garden tour. Fall is on its way. I have a mixed garden now, and so I want to show you my fall and summer mixed garden. The things that will go right up until the first frost. The things that I've just planted, a bunch of brassicas. I am in Virginia, zone 7B. We are right around the corner. It is planting time for us. So I want to take you around the garden this morning with a cup of coffee. Grab your coffee because I got mine. And let's see what's going on in my urban garden. So it's about 7 something in the morning, and I wanted to do this garden tour early in the morning because I don't know if you, well, you can hear the buses and stuff too, but I don't know if you can hear all of the wonderful nature noises, which are normally really loud in the evenings. And in the morning, it's a much more subtle nature noise, one that just kind of relaxes you. So I wanted to make sure I did this garden tour in the early morning hours. You want to know something? I got up at 5:30 this morning. I'm like, I'm gonna be outside by 6. The seasons are changing. It doesn't get daytime by 6. So we're out here, I think it's about 7-ish now. No, it's actually 6:52. So still got out here a little bit early. So yeah, y'all, let's take a look at the garden. I'm showing you every part of the garden today. By the way, I got the orchard area cleaned out. So there won't be a part 2 to the orchard cleaned out because I just needed to get it cleaned. Especially since I finally got my wood chips. Everybody who's stopping by my house. My son's father called the other day and he said, what is all that stuff in your driveway? And I was like, it's wood chips. I'm gonna put it in the garden. It's so funny because people be like, you always doing something. I want them wood chips bad, y'all. All right, let's get into this garden tour. So I'm gonna show you the entrance to the garden where this grapevine has absolutely taken over, but I also wanna show you all the grapes that I really need to start harvesting. I've been eating them like one by one, but I really need to harvest them so I can just sit down and taste them and just, you know, enjoy that fun little snack, because they're very fun snacks to me. Okay, so when you come in, this is the arch trellis coming in. Everything at the top is the grapevine, literally. The grapevine is taking over this trellis. Can y'all see it? If I were to let that go, this whole trellis would be full with grapevines. And I'm not sure that I'm not okay with that, if I'm honest, because at the bottom of this trellis, I get a lot of weeds. And so I had grew passion fruit over here, I think last year, but the greenhouse wasn't here. So now that the greenhouse is here, like I feel like I should just get this chopped down and then really just let the grapevine take over. And then on this side, there are still a few tomatoes growing. See up there, and we got some Brad's Atomic right here. But this area gets shaded a lot during the summer because all of this stuff that's dying back now is like really big, like this mugwort that I probably should go ahead and harvest. I did harvest some of this year. It can be used medicinally. I have not used it medicinally, but it can be. So I'm harvesting it so that when I have time in the off season, when we work together to learn how to use herbs, I'll have it. So I'm thinking I may just let this grapevine take over. I am gonna try to kind of tame it a little bit, but I'm thinking how cool would it be to walk in and just have grapes hanging off of that trellis? I think it would be cool, but let me show you the grapes. Like, there are so many grapes all over this. Y'all see all those grapes? I've been showing y'all these for a while now, but it's just, they're everywhere. And I will tell you, this is the first year I've gotten this many grapes on this vine. I'm gonna venture to say it is because I'm just letting it do its thing. The way that it is growing right now, if I'm honest, is probably the way that it grows in nature, because I did not get around to pruning it, and so all of these vines are just everywhere. At this point, I posted over on Instagram, it has taken 3 trellises that was never meant for it. But I also want to ask y'all, I need to look it up. I'm sure the Google will tell me, but what is this? What is it? It's so gross, y'all. Like, it is just disgusting. It's like a white slime, if you can see it. And it's on a few of those vines. I spray it off with the water, when I need to actually get over here and touch things, because I do not want that on me. But if you know what it is, put it in the comments below, because I have no idea. So right up under the grapevine is another bed, and this is pretty much all collards, right? And then I put one cabbage over here. I'm very interested in seeing if I give my cabbage more space, because like in the garden beds, I do 3 cabbages to a row. In my garden beds, my block beds are 7 by 4, so I put 3 in there in a row. And then I had extras. So the extras that I had, I planted them in a much larger space that they could have by themselves. Somewhat of a trial, because I want to know, like, do I really need to give them more space? Because I'm not a great grower of cabbage, right? But I want to be. I have a friend who loves garden cabbage. I love cabbage. I want to be able to really grow it for us. And so that's what I did. I know that the way that I have my collard space, they'll be just fine, because I used to put 2 in a row in my 2 by, I think that's an 8-inch bed. And so it's 2 feet across, 8 feet long. And I used to put 2 in there, and I got really good collards out of that. So I'm fine with the way I have these planted. I am very interested in like how I can do better with cabbage. So like I said, we have Georgia collards here. These 4 are champion collards. These 4 are Georgia collards. And against everything that I always do, I put all of my collards in one bed. I said it in my last video. I just think their leaves are very pretty, and I think having them all in one space would be like a beautiful show of collards. And so I put them all in one space. I already have family members calling me for collards, so I sure hope I did not make a mistake. And so we have the collard bed here with the grapevine, the entrance to the garden, and then over here, oh, we still have cantaloupe plant. There are no cantaloupes on it, but I'm leaving it just to see what may happen. I'm not putting anything on this trellis for fall, so I'm just gonna leave it and let it see what happens. Over here, we have the asparagus that is still, well, they're kind of dying back. So the thing with asparagus is you leave it and you let it die back, and then it's getting its energy for next year. So you leave it, let it die back. You can cut it down once everything dies back, and then mulch the bed. And when I say mulch, I just throw these ferns back on it. And I have heard that, you know, when you do that, you leave pest maybe and disease. I've been doing it ever since I had my asparagus, and I've never had a problem. Not telling anybody else to do it, simply telling you what I do. And then I will put a layer of compost on it, which will feed these crowns all winter long, and then in spring they'll come back. Asparagus are perennial. Then beside the asparagus, you have some that's greener than others. Is that lemongrass? Well, we rarely ever talk about, but it looks really good, so I'm gonna harvest that soon. It has like really thick, nice stalks right now, so pretty excited. And that is growing in a 7-gallon grow bag, same kind of soil. And someone asked me about my soil mix in the comments. My soil mix is black cow. That's what it is right now. Like I haven't changed it. It is black cow. It is Kellogg's container soil. I put granulated fertilizer in it, and most of these bags also had blood meal and bone meal put in them. And so that is my mix. That is what I do for my grow bags. And then beside the lemongrass is just a native plant that was sent to me. Comes back every year. It's a very pretty plant in its season. This one right here. It's one of the first things that pop in the spring. But very pretty plant in the spring. And I just have it tied to the fence because it was really wild. And I did clean over here. Do y'all notice that? And then we have a volunteer hyssop right here. I have been seeing so many like hummingbirds on it and the bees. And then this is a volunteer marshmallow. If you remember, I had a bunch of plants over in the seating area, so I just kind of moved them around the garden. That pot actually had, I want to say, chamomile in it, but it was over with the hyssop and the marshmallow. And then I guess the seeds fell last year, and then those just volunteered over here. So I got 2 free plants. And so right in front of the asparagus and everything else I just showed you, or beside it, we have one of our block beds. This is, like I said, a 4 by 7. And so we planted this out yesterday. And so what we have here are some kohlrabi in the front. The first 3 plants in the front are kohlrabi. I left these snapdragons. They've been in since early spring, but they are cool season flowers. So I'm hoping that as the season cools down, that these will start to grow. And these leeks, the same thing. They've been in since early spring, and I'm just leaving them, and we're going to see what happens. Right behind that is cabbage. So this is all cabbage, this next one. And then there's broccoli. And then in the back are Brussels sprouts. And we're still holding on to those tree collards. I did send a message, or I put a comment on Project Tree Collards Instagram. And I asked her, would it be better for me to just cut them and propagate them and then plant them again, or am I okay to just leave them? So she asked me to send her a picture, which I have not gotten around to doing, but I am going to because I'm very interested. Oh, the other thing that's in this bed is I put a couple of nasturtiums. Well, there's 4. I'm saying a couple, but there's 4. I didn't get a good nasturtium show in the spring, and I really do like nasturtiums. I like to eat them. The whole plant is edible, so I like to eat them, but I also think they're just very pretty. And so I'm hoping to get a few more nasturtiums before, you know, winter gets here and everything just starts to kind of slow down in growth. Nasturtiums will not grow during the winter, but they will grow right up until the frost, and I just want to see them. I think they're beautiful. There is also one more snapdragon in the back behind the tree collards. That has been there since the spring as well. So I'm just leaving the things that I know can grow in the cooler seasons, and I'm hoping for some pretty flowers in my fall garden this year, which I don't normally think about. I don't normally think about putting more flowers out in the fall. I'm normally thinking only about the food. So, you know, we evolve. And the other thing is we still have sunflowers. So excited about that. Very happy to still have sunflowers in the garden this late in the year. Like I said, very much learning. I'm learning and paying attention. So next year, I know probably in July or so, I'm gonna plant more sunflowers if they don't volunteer on their own, because I can literally have sunflowers into fall. In between this bed is a trellis. And so there are cucumbers on this trellis. I have no idea what this one is. I could go back and look in a video, but I don't know what it is, and it hasn't produced anything. But like I said, same thing with the trellis in the front. I'm not going to use it, so just going to leave it. These, I believe, are the dragon egg cucumbers, and they are producing still, so I'm leaving them. There are a lot of little ones on here and a lot of flowers, so we're just gonna leave those and see what happens, because y'all know me. We're gonna leave it, it's gonna be fine. Everybody, well, a lot of people are saying like, where's a t-shirt with it's fine? I'm thinking about it, so much life changes. Don't wanna start doing too many things too quick, too soon. Kind of really wanna enjoy what I got going on right now. But I am thinking about making a shirt that says it's fine. You know, I don't know, maybe with some pretty flowers on it. I'm not sure, but when that time comes, I will absolutely let y'all know. And here's the next block bed, right beside that bed there. Oh, by the way, these are my snapdragons. So they've gotten way too wet several times. So I took them off of the table, put them out in the garden, and they are starting to grow much better. So I'm very excited about that, because my plan, whenever I clear out this horrible, horrible flower bed, that's where all of those are gonna go. It's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful show of flowers. Maybe not for fall, but I will get them for spring, and it's gonna be beautiful. But back to the garden bed. So front is Joy Choy. There are some leeks in here. They've been in here since spring, and I'm just leaving them. We have cabbage behind those. There are 2 tiny little Swiss chard in there. And then we have kohlrabi back here, broccoli, and then we have some kale in the back. And there are 2 snapdragons, one there that actually has some flowers on it right now and looks like it's going to be pretty healthy and come back for me. And then there's one over here that looks horrible, but it's still trying to give me that one little flower. And then there's one in the back over there. And this one had really pretty flowers on it in the summer. So, oh, there's one right there. A very pretty flower. So I'm hoping that this one gives me a pretty little flush of flowers too. When I first started growing, like, flowers was not on my list. Did not think about growing any kind of flowers, right? But as I have started gardening, it's just pretty. Not to mention, like I said in a video not too long ago, all of the wildlife that comes because you have flowers. If you're into wildlife, like if you're into the birds, you know, bees, the butterflies, it will bring them to your garden. I know a lot of people are like, do you have to have flowers? I wouldn't say you have to. I do think that they do add to your garden. They do bring pollinators, so totally up to you, but I've really gotten into flowers myself. So right beside that block bed, we have a no-dig bed where I have put in some nasturtiums. These are nasturtiums I started myself, so they did make it. And then Swiss chard. So I did these in clusters. It's not just one plant, it's several plants. I kind of want some tiny Swiss chard leaves. So kind of like, I don't want to say microgreens, I just want to say like smaller leaves. So they're all in clusters, and I'm hoping for the best there. Back here, there's nothing back here, but it's gonna be lettuce and maybe some radishes, so we'll see. And the reason why I'm deciding to plant it over there, I'm sure it's probably looking like, how much light do you get over there? I do get good lighting over there, right? But I also get good shade, and lettuce will bulk quickly in the heat and in the sun. So what I'm trying over here is to see how long I can get my lettuce to grow. And I grew lettuce over here once before, and it grew beautifully and for a good little while. So that's why I'm gonna put my lettuce over there. Probably get that planted out sometime next week. So in this bed, we also have a trellis where we had beans, purple potted pole beans. They didn't do well, so I'm basically just leaving it so that they can dry, and then I can save the beans that are inside of it. And down here at the bottom, there's a bunch of newer ones, but I just decided I'm just gonna leave them and let them all dry, and then I'll save the seeds out of here. Right behind it, we still have roselle growing. I may have missed my roselle harvest this year. There is a huge spider web across here. I don't know if y'all can see it, so we're not gonna walk over there, but I think I may have missed it. I might have gotten them in too late, which is fine, but they're still growing, and we'll see. Maybe they'll start to put out some of their flowers for me soon, and then I'll save those. The roselle plants were very pretty last year. They're still pretty. I'm just hoping that they give me some flowers because I really want to save them, really want to try that drink that I've been wanting to try for 2 years now and still haven't done it, that everybody tells me about. And so I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. We have cleared out this Vigo garden bed. We're gonna plant something in there, just not sure what we're gonna plant just yet. And then there are roselle in this mess of Cuckoozy gourd. So listen, that Cuckoozy gourd is a wild plant. But for the first time ever, I am growing a Cuckoozy gourd. And there's one up here as well. There was a cucumber plant on this trellis as well, but the Cuckoozy gourd absolutely took that over. So now I know if you're gonna plant Cuckoozy, it's kind of like planting loofah. You don't need anything else on that trellis with it. So yeah, that thing is massive. I'm gonna see if I can get over here for you real quick. It is massive, taking over everything. Like I said, there is a roselle plant. There's actually 2 roselle plants, 3. There's 3 roselle plants in here. You would not know it because this thing is big. Which is fine by me. I'm okay with that. I love it. Down at the bottom, there's still like a few basil in here, but there isn't anything really in this bed. And until I pull the Cuckoozy gourd down, there's literally no point of trying to plant because nothing in those beds are gonna get any kind of sunlight. And beside this Cuckoozy gourd trellis, you have the other block bed, which is still growing melons. Still getting new flowers on that. It's still getting longer. And we actually have some melons. These are Tigger melons. They are kind of all over this vine. It's pretty cool because if you remember, I thought that I wasn't gonna get any melons because these were shaded by my potatoes that were in the bags at the beginning of the year. once I harvested those potatoes, these plants just kind of sprung up. And I haven't been doing any kind of fertilizing like I should. And so I'm still surprised that these plants grew like this and are actually giving me melons. Like, I think there are, what, 5 on here right now? Probably my best sugar melon harvest ever. So maybe I learned something new there too. And beside that bed, so listen, mostly all of the bags are empty that's going down the row. Let me show you really quick. We got some volunteer potatoes, so we're leaving those. These are the carrots that we planted together. We need to come through and thin those. That's a few more carrots. And if you remember, I had planted in a carrot bag and I said we're just gonna leave that potato. And so we did. So now we have carrots and potatoes in one bag. Don't know how that's gonna work out. And then we have a volunteer potato too. And when I say volunteer, in case you're new here, and I say it all the time, it just means I left something or a seed fail, and then it just started to grow when the time was right for it. And so that's where we got those volunteer potatoes from. I never got around to actually planting my fall crop of potatoes, and now I feel like it's a little late, but it might not be. We might just plant them and see what happens and not plant a whole lot though, because potatoes I think are about 90 days. Our first predicted frost is in November, so I'm a few days shy, but I could get some, you know, baby potatoes, so we'll see. But as I was saying, we also have moringa, right? So these are the moringa that we moved out of the greenhouse like mid-summer because they weren't growing, but they're doing really well. I'm thinking that I'm gonna put them in the greenhouse, still in the bags for the winter, to see if I can get them to continue to grow, and then I could put them back out when summer comes around. Moringa, as I understand it, is like a superfood. And so you can dry it, as I understand it, and make a powder and then like put it in smoothies or put it on your food. You can make it into a tea, as I understand it. You can do a capsule. So I'm very interested to do that because, like, if it's a superfood and I can grow it in my backyard, why not? So an update on this trellised pot. I think it's better somewhere where it's not going to get rained in. This tomato looks awful. And because I've had to dump it, like if it rains, that's just mushy soil with a bunch of water in it. You can look at it now and it's like super soaked. And it's because there's a reservoir. So if you already have water in it and then it rains, you're just adding water. So I feel like it would be better on like a porch, a covered porch maybe. I'm really not sure, but I will say, I think if I took that reservoir off, it would be for down in my garden. I think that it would be great because you still have the trellis that comes with it, which is what I probably will do. Takes away from the ambiance a little bit because the pot is really cute, but it for down in my garden, it was not a great idea. So I just want to tell you that. Right beside that pot, we have all of our blueberry plants. They have stopped producing, of course, because we're going into fall, but I got a great amount of blueberries off of here. I have, what, 6 bushes here. So there's 6 bushes right in front of this block bed, and then there's one more over here. And that one actually was with this group, but as my garden evolved, it happened to be in the walkway. So I just transplanted it over there late in fall, I believe, one year, and it worked out just fine for me. So that was pretty cool, right? Okay, so in the block bed behind the blueberry bushes that still has the melons on it, we have broccoli going all the way around the middle, in the middle of that. Over here are 2 kohlrabi plants. That is an eggplant that was in for spring. I'm just leaving it to see what happens. Across the front, we put some more nasturtiums. Hopefully we'll get some of those. And then there's one single kale plant in there. Also, planted broccoli in between this basil that I'm hoping to get seed from. And then there's actually a eggplant back here too. So I'm leaving that because I didn't get a lot of eggplant this year, and I want to save the seeds from that basil. So I left one basil plant that's already flowering. Like I said, there's a few over in the other bed, but they're probably not getting much sun, so they're not doing too much growing. So left that one to get the seeds from it. And so hopeful for that. But everything looks so neat out here. I absolutely love the neatness of right now. After summer, I am in great deal of neat. And so when fall comes, it's a much neater season, much easier season. It's not hot. You can really kind of enjoy the garden in the fall until it gets too cold, because the cold weather ain't for me either. So right down here, this is where we had the zinnias at. We now have kohlrabi, I think. There is one cabbage in here, and I kind of did the same thing, gave it a lot of space. And then there's some kale down here, and I threw a few nasturtiums in there as well. So that is a mixed bed, but I'm very happy with like the way I've used my space so far this fall. The only places that may not be planted out, in which I'm probably just going to cover them with leaves, is where the Kikuzi gourd is, and that's because I think that Kikuzi gourd will go right up into the frost, and if it is frosting, that means I am not coming out here to pull anything off of a trellis, which means those will just be beds I did not use. So this is the bed that's beside the strawberries. I still haven't gotten around to pulling out the strawberries, but I will. Like I said, I'm only going to leave about 10 strawberries in this bed when I finally get around to it, just so that next year it doesn't start out oversaturated. I've said it a few times now that strawberry plants produce so much, reproduce so much. They give out what they call the child plant, the runner, whatever you want to call it, and they just spread. Like they're trying to spread in between the bags right now. Very resilient plants. And I know someone said, or a couple of people probably said, like, if you're going to pull them out and share them like you did last year, I want some. I am fine to do that as long as you're in my area. We can meet somewhere. I don't want to mail them or anything like that, because I don't know how to mail live plants. But if you're in my area, when I do pull those out, I will let you know over here and we can meet. I did give some away last year. I met someone and gave them away. I don't mind doing things like that. I have extra plants, so why not? Extra healthy plants, so why not? So the peppers, that we moved over here to get them out of the walkway, they're looking good. Actually have some that need to be harvested, right? But I haven't gotten out here just yet to harvest them. But they're looking good, and we're getting a lot of new flowers now that it's cooled off a little bit. So I'm excited about that. I'm sure you're wanting to know, how has the comfrey tea fertilizer been going? I don't know, because I haven't done it. I haven't done it, but next week I'm really going to start to do that once a week, doing comfrey tea, because I have a plant, and I'm going to show you when we go back over there to look at the flower bed, that looks awful. So I think it would be a great trial to say, like, this is what it looked like. I started fertilizing with comfrey tea every day, and this is what it looks like now. I think that would be a great trial for me to say, oh yeah, I really think this works. So we will start doing that next week, and we'll work through that up until the frost to see how that plant progresses. And so beside the strawberries, and then on the other side of these empty bags, do you see what I mean about the strawberries? Like, they're literally growing in between the bags. Like, this is a strawberry plant that's growing in between the bags because the bags are moist. Strawberries are very resilient. Very resilient plants. We're gonna get in there, we're gonna clean that up, and so by the time winter gets here, this will be mowed down. When I say mow, I'm just gonna cut it. I'm not gonna bring a lawnmower in here to mow it down, or maybe even the weed eater, I don't know. And then I will cover it with some leaves so it can get through the cooler seasons. But as I was saying, on the other side of these bags, you have the mint. The mint has pretty much dwindled out, but mint is perennial and it will come back. All of my mint is in pots because mint will take over, and I don't want it to take over. But right behind that is the Vevor garden bed. Y'all, look at that sage. I cut it the other day. This is a pineapple sage. I cut it, gave it to the chickens because it's massive. But remember, that's what I wanted this bed to be, a massive bed of herbs. And so remember, we put some basil in there. That basil is still growing. There's one over there. I want to say this is verbena, so I'm hoping for a better crop of verbena next year. I think it was already kind of going to seed when I planted it, but verbena is perennial, and so that's fine. There's 2 verbena in here, and then there's a marshmallow plant in here too. And so the marshmallow plant is also growing. And so I'm thinking next year that this is going to be a very beautiful bed. Things will have gotten established, and I think it's just going to be very pretty, and it's going to be exactly what I wanted. Down here we have some lemon balm in a pot. Don't think it's getting enough sun because of the cuckoozy gourd and this sage. So probably gonna move this somewhere next year. Lemon balm comes back every year. It is perennial. Love it in tea. And then we have that comfrey plant that I keep telling you all I need to put into the ground, but it's doing great in a pot as well, so I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it at all. When I come under the trellis that has a cuckoozy gourd on it, I have to duck because, like, oh my goodness, it's just growing everywhere. We're not gonna keep talking about it, but it is growing everywhere, right? So we're making a circle somewhat. The Vigo garden bed I said we emptied. And these are the pepper plants that we moved out of the flat bed that's now the collard bed. And so it's still producing too. This was the habanada one. So remember we had pulled all of the peppers off. We also have a pimento coming over here and it's flushing. So, you know, we're doing good over here too. Like I said, these are the ones that we moved. They had to get established, so they're getting better. And as I said, I do think that once I start to fertilize, everything is going to start looking better as it relates to the peppers for sure. I think things are going to start looking better once we start fertilizing. All right, let's go see this horrible flower bed. All right, so the flower bed looks just, oh my God. We talked about this spider web that I was not gonna walk through. I walked through it. Let's go the other way. I really don't want to knock it down. I don't. Like, he has been there for quite some time. I want it to live out the rest of its summer, fall days here, and so I'm not gonna knock it down. I don't go that way often unless I'm going to the compost pile, which just keeps getting worse and worse. It's not really not as bad as it was. This is just a lot of the things that I pulled that I put over here. And that sunflower, I need to be able to cut the actual plant. So I need to get my little handsaw and cut it because I just threw it over here yesterday. But that's the compost pile. And this also needs to be cleaned up. I just noticed the worm bin, and people have been asking about the worm bin. Life was busy. The worm bin did not do well. We are going to start it over. I do think that I needed more than just the peat moss in there. So we're going to start that over. We're going to put some soil in there. We'll start it over. I have something coming, and I think I'm going to be able to heat the greenhouse safely. So keep that in mind. I'm hopeful. And if we are, then I'm definitely going to start the worm bin over now. But back to this mess, this monstrosity of a flower bed. We are going to clean this out. So look at these. Never can remember. Sedum. They're sedum. Such a pretty plant, right? Like, the flowers are beautiful. But let me show you the other sedum that has literally fallen over everywhere. It was huge. Good morning, friend. How are you? Good. It is huge, but look how big this plant is. Like, it is big. I'm gonna cut all of this stuff out. Literally gonna cut everything out. Probably gonna pull these foxgloves. As beautiful as they look, I'm a nervous person with anxiety, and so like this whole year when they were over here, I just kept remembering people saying those are poisonous. So we're probably gonna pull all of those out. True story. And so there are echinacea over here, which I did not use this year because they were in the bed with the foxgloves, and so then I didn't want to use the leaves or the flowers because someone said it could go through the roots. Oh my God, we're pulling the foxgloves, y'all. But there are still some zinnias growing, and so we're leaving those just to let them grow. And like I said, the hummingbirds and bees can still come over here, and that would be. They can still have somewhere to come to my garden right now, because right now it's looking very green. All right, and so we still have some peppers over here. Not looking the best over here. And this is the one we're gonna follow. This is the one we're gonna follow. It is not dead, but it is very much malnutritioned. So this is the one that we're gonna follow with the comfrey tea and see what happens. And then behind the other block bed, we have peppers too that we moved from the middle row. Okay, so the last thing, and then that is going to end this garden tour, is the orchard. I go in it more now than I did before. We're not going in it together, but we're gonna look at it from an outside view. Let's see, it's clean, y'all. And my fig tree, I know people are gonna be like, it didn't grow that much. In my mind, it grew a lot this year, so I'm gonna show you that. Oh, also, I have another plan for my wood chips. I had a space like right coming from my back door, and it was a sidewalk that went from my back door to this fence. It was a sidewalk that led nowhere. But back in the day, a little bit of history, the person who lived in my house and the person who lived on the house on the other side of the street, they were best friends. So they put in a sidewalk so that they wouldn't have to walk around the street to get to each other's house. I thought that was so cool, right? It's cool, but it wasn't cool enough for me to keep that sidewalk. But anyway, I'm gonna fill this area in with wood chips. As it breaks down over the years, then it'll fill my yard in right here. And so if I ever were to extend this area, I'd have good soil already. Anyway, a part of what I'm gonna do with those wood chips. But look how much neater it looks in here. We still have to cut, oh my God, we gotta trim this apple tree so bad. Also, that piece right there is grapevine. But the apple trees need to be trimmed so bad. We did end up getting some of the brown stuff, whatever you call it. I can't remember what someone said it was. So we're gonna cut it way down again this year. Peach tree still looks amazing over here. And I have it in kind of a cylinder type shape. So there's a lot of air that can get into the middle. This is the other peach tree. Now that one does not look as good. It was full of peaches. The branches kind of sagged quite a bit, and I'm fine with it. Once we get in here to clean up the trees, we'll fix that. Down the bottom, everything looks good, cleaned. So this is a sage, a lot of comfrey. This is the grapevine. Look how big that grapevine is, like how thick the bottom of that is, the trunk. So it was very small when I got it, but like that thing is massive to me now. And my fig, how exciting. Like it is a decent size now. You see that? Shouts out to Broke Farmer for finally getting me one. I appreciate that so much. So the fig tree looks really good. We need to trim these rose bushes. And so here's where I put the plants that were over in the seating area. I've shown them before. And so this is the feverfew. This is the marshmallow, and over there is the anise hyssop. But we really need to get some kind of order over here. Down here, this is a oregano, but as I was pulling out all of the weeds, I ended up having to pull the fresh oregano. It is perennial. It will come back. You have more comfrey. Right here is a sage that I just kind of need to cut because it looks ridiculous. Then you have thyme right here that I need to cut back. Some more comfrey. This is an oregano plant too. Some of it is still here. Some of it is not when I was, cleaning it out. And there's a rosemary over here, which I need to cut, but that's the whole, bush. And then over there is a lot of lavender and the mugwort right up under this apple tree, the other apple tree that I really need to cut. So that is the garden in August. There goes my young lady. Somebody said that they were missing her in the garden. So she's ready to go to school. I'm about to take her to school. So that is the garden in August. We are switching over to fall. I am excited. Fall, like I said, is my favorite growing season. Like, it's just so easy. And I'm gonna take you along with me as we do it. I feel very proud of myself. Last thing we need to do, well, one of the last things we need to do is to finish digging out the chicken area to get this, what I'm calling mulch/compost, onto all of the beds, and just kind of get prepared for fall and winter. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. don't forget to visit me over on Instagram, where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.